Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. And Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Paramahansa Parivadikacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivadikacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On this 5th day of March 2019 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Damodar, before you sit down, sorry. Get a seat, just in case Marcy does show up. The whole thing. Just get her a chair. Okay? Thank you. All right. Forgot where I was. What did I say? On this 5th day of March 2019, SanDiego, reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is. Translated and commented by His Divine Grace. Okay. And we're reading chapter 3 entitled Karma Yoga. And we're on page 166. I'm sorry, 167, text 31 at the bottom. Damodar, we're going to need you, so I'm waiting. Bottom of page 167, 167. You got it there, Russell? Text 31, yeah. Okay, here we go. Ye me matamidam nityam anutishtanti manavaha shraddhavanto nasuyanto muchyante tepi karmabhihi. Ye me matamidam nityam anutishtanti manavaha shraddhavanto nasuyanto muchyante tepi karmabhihi. Ye me matamidam nityam Anutishtanti manavaha shraddhavanto nasuyanto muchyante tepi karmabhihi. Ye me matamidam nityam anutishtanti manavaha shraddhavanto nasuyanto muchyante tepi karmabhihi. Word by words. Yea, those who may, my, matam, injunctions, idam, these, nityam, as an eternal function, anutishtanti, execute regularly, manavaha, human beings, shraddha, vantaha, with faith and devotion, anasuyantaha, without envy, muchyante, become free, te, all of them, api, even, karmabhihi, from the bondage of the law of fruitive actions. Translation. Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. Purport. The injunction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the essence of all Vedic wisdom and therefore is eternally true without exception. As the Vedas are eternal, so this truth of Krishna consciousness is also eternal. One should have firm faith in this injunction, without envying the Lord. There are many philosophers who write comments on the Bhagavad Gita, but have no faith in Krishna. They will never be liberated from the bondage of fruitive action. But an ordinary man with firm faith in the eternal injunctions of the Lord, even though unable to execute such orders, becomes liberated from the bondage of the law of karma. In the beginning of Krishna consciousness, one may not fully discharge the injunctions of the Lord, but because one is not resentful of this principle and works sincerely without consideration of defeat and hopelessness, he will surely be promoted to the stage of pure Krishna consciousness. Om jnana timarandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshu unmilitam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Shri Parampara. So, ye me mitam idam nityam, these injunctions which Krishna has spoken in the previous verse, he's referring to the previous verse, which Srila Prabhupada says, this verse, this is the beginning of the purport to text number 30 on page 167 at the top there, near the top. This verse clearly indicates the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. So this text 30 is kind of a summary of many of the instructions that Krishna has already given in an earlier part of the chapter. So why don't we read that translation again? Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me, with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight. Now, it's not, you can't just do this instantaneously, come to this platform. But Krishna is laying down the law now. He has no time to waste. They're on the battlefield. The battle is about to begin. So he's speaking very concisely here. And the whole idea here is, in the context of the chapter, he's telling us how we can work and not accrue any karmic reactions. This is a key point of understanding. Once you understand that your spirit not matter and that you won't die when the body gives out and falls away, well, where are you going to go? What's your life going to be like? That's what we should be thinking about. That point, the final exam. And he makes it clear that in the beginning of the 8th chapter, and also in this chapter and throughout the Gita, that whatever you're doing now is forming a certain set of two things. One is you're forming a certain kind of consciousness, and the other is that you're accruing karmic reactions. They may be good or they may be bad. But if they're good and bad materially, then you have to get the good or bad results in the next life. Suppose you're a very kind person, very generous, you sacrifice yourself for the welfare of others, you're helping children and everything. Fine. Then that's all good karma. But how are you going to get the results of the good karma? In other words, that means that you have to come back again to get the results. And you may have a more beautiful body, you may be wealthy, you may be healthy, and so forth. You're getting good karma. But that good karma is ultimately bad because you're still in the material world.
And you have to suffer old age, disease, and death, and the threefold miseries. And who knows what kind of association you'll have. On the material level, you may turn out to be a rotten person, a criminal, whatever, and then really suffer like anything. So you really haven't progressed at all. The impetus is good, it's on the good side, to do good for others. In fact, in the 12th chapter, Krishna says, okay, if you can't think of me, you can't even practice devotional service at all, you can't even give the fruits of your action to me, then at least be generous. Don't be a selfish, egotistical, narcissistic, fool. Rather, be a good person, and who knows? One of those people who you're generous to and you're charitable toward may be a devotee, and you'll give some donation for Krishna consciousness, even unknowingly. This idea of agyata sukriti means unknowing good works. And it's often used to describe somehow or other you're serving Krishna even unknowingly. Most people, they don't know what they're doing. Oftentimes, I used to do, I don't do it so much anymore, I'd go through, just walk on the street, and of course I'm always in the robe so they know, but I'll ask people for the time. Who's not ready to give the time? Look at your watch. But that's a service. They're doing a service. And that service goes into their bank account, however small it may be. But the point is here, in this context, near the beginning of the Gita, how can we begin to act in such a way that we're, number one, mitigating our karmic burden from before, because we're all controlled by previous activities, and not incurring any new karma. That's the whole theme of this chapter. And so here Krishna's giving the formula. It's very simple. It's simple, but it's not easy to execute. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyadhyatma cetasa. To act for me, unto me all sorts of activities, giving up the fruits of those activities with full knowledge of the self. Nirashir, to have no aspirations for material benefit. Lord Chaitanya taught us. He's teaching us. He's in the role of a devotee. Krishna comes in the role of a devotee, and he acts and he teaches the principles of devotion that are practical for us and that can take us back to Godhead. He made it easy, much easier than it could have been in previous ages, and certainly feasible for us. So he preaches nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam bhagavadgita. He's praying to the Lord, but he's not praying for what people ordinarily pray for, which is wealth, health, safety, relief from some trouble. That's good. That'll be Krishna. That's sukriti. If you go to God and pray for relief for your miseries, that's fine. But it's not going to get you love of Godhead. At least it brings you into the orbit of Krishna, because you're approaching God. Better than that than a gross atheist and cynic, you see. But that's just the first step. We have to graduate beyond that. So Krishna, as Lord Chaitanya, he's teaching us, nadanang najanang nasundari kapitang bhagavadgita. After, I'm chanting your name, but I'm not getting any taste because I'm too offensive. So I have to be humble, and I have to be tolerant, and not proud, and pray in this way. I don't want any wealth. I don't want any followers. This is what people ordinarily strive for. Wealth, followers, beautiful wife or beautiful husband, Nadanam danam nasundarim kavitam. Kavitam can mean different things. It can mean materialistic knowledge, a material education. That's another highly coveted thing. I don't care. He says, I don't want it. Nadanam, najanam, nasundarim. He repeats the na. Jagadishaka, oh Lord of the universe. He knows he's Lord of the universe. That means you can give me these things, but I'm not asking for that. That's not my desire. Everything depends on your desire. Here the word is nirashi, means I don't aspire for anything material. And Lord Chaitanya gives very specifics. Jagadisha kamiye. Kami means I want. I'm longing for. I'm not longing for the wealth, the followers, the beautiful spouse, or the high education. Mama janmani janmanishvare. Now, in that third line, by saying birth after birth, janma means birth. Then he's implying very strongly, I'm not asking for liberation either. What I'm asking for is not liberation, because birth after birth I have this boon. That means I don't want liberation, which is the most coveted material thing. Liberation is also a material aspiration. It gets you moving in the right direction, because if you want liberation and you really study the books, you realize, oh, I have to be a devotee. Because liberation means you're free of attachment to the things here, which are going to bring you back for birth and death. So the impersonalists, everybody knows you have to get free from that attachment. But it's impossible to do that without getting attached to Krishna. And that's bhakti. In other words, the simple fact is, practically speaking, in every age, what to speak of this age, there's no mukti without bhakti. There's no liberation without developing love for Krishna. So, but that's not my motive. My motive is, as Lord Chaitanya says, Mama janmani janma ishwari bhagavad bhaktir ahaituki tvayi. Bhagavad bhakti means devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Jagadisha, Krishna, the Lord of the universe, which is the haituki, the key word. Haituki means without any material motivation, just as he says here, nirashir and nirmama. These are the two, right and left hand of the false ego, me and mine. I am this body, and the things in relation to this body are mine, as much as I can get in my name, right? What is it? You have to have your name on it, isn't it? Didn't your mother tell you to write your name on it, or to lose it and someone else will claim it, right? You write your name on it. So you write your name on the account. You write your name on. So the things that are related to your name means that those are yours, you know. But nirmama means you have to really get over that, because ultimately everything belongs to Krishna. How did it come about? The things that we claim for our own, our car. I have a car I use, you know, hopefully for Krishna service, drive here and there, get things that I offer to Krishna. All right. But if I think that, oh, this is my car to enjoy because I'm in control of it, then that's called Maya. That's illusion. You know, I didn't create the car. And the car was actually given to me, literally. And you know, everything that goes into the car are gifts of the God. The metals and the things and the intelligence, it's all coming from above. So for me to claim it, that's the root cause of illusion, is to steal from God, literally. In the Ishopanishad, which we're reading now, the first verse, the first mantra, we read the invocation on Monday. So each Monday morning we're going to read another mantra. They're called mantras. So the first one is exactly about this. Ishabhasamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatam jagat tena chaktena bunjita ma gurdha kasya swiddhanam. I don't know the whole Ishopanishad, I should, but I know this one. So Ishabhasamidam sarvam, everything is owned and controlled by the Isha, by the Lord. Ishabhasamidam jagat, whatever there is in the universe, we're entitled to our quota for maintenance. But don't be greedy. Even the word gridha is in there. It sounds like greed. Don't be greedy for more, because that's thievery. And Prabhupada says in the purport, that's the root cause of all the problems in the world. It's like people claiming more than they need and kicking other people off the land because they want to use the land, you know. How did this country come about? You know, the slaves, you know, which is the most horrific thing, and the genocide of the Indians, of the Native Americans. Horrific. Right where we're sitting here, you know, there's definitely some tribes and everything. So that mentality, which is all over the world, is the hallmark of false ego, me and mine. Aham mameti. Aham mama iti. Iti means a conception that I am this body, aham, and mama, the things related to the body or mind. Aham mameti. Now what is Krishna? We read this a few verses ago. Prakate kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. Kartaham means I am the doer. Actually, things are being carried out by nature under the supervision of God. We'll read that in the 9th chapter. Maya jakshena prakati suyate sachadacharam. Maya jakshena literally means under my supervision. In other words, let's be honest, you know. If there's some big factory going on, and things are being produced, say, cars are being produced. But we know that there's an owner of the factory. He's put in place the managers. They're reporting to him. his plan is going. In other words, his oversight and his input is really what's making it run. Plus his money, right? So the fact that the workers are working like anything, getting their salary, but the fruits of that thing, the car that's coming out, is a product of the ideas and the influence and the oversight of the owner. Of course, beyond that, there's Krishna and everything, but just on the good analogy like that. So the same thing is true of this world. Krishna manipulates his energy so perfectly that we never see the person behind it who's overseeing everything. But we know from the Gita and from the other Shastra that in every atom there's a super soul, and in every heart there's a super soul, giving us the intelligence to act in such a way to fulfill our karma. How do you think things are going on? Our own bodies, we're living day after day. It's such a miraculous thing. Obviously there's an intelligence behind it. So Krishna consciousness means being aware of that intelligence and understanding it belongs to a person and finding out how we can act in tune with the desires of that intelligent person. And then you really feel peaceful and joyful and free of fear. Fear is an inevitable concomitant of our illusory separation from Krishna. It's described, Bhayam dvitiya benaveshitaksya ishadapetasya viparyosmati. In the 11th canto, this fear factor is analyzed. How does it come about? Because in Vaikuntha, there's no fear. Everyone is living completely free of anxiety. That's what it means, Vaikuntha, free of anxiety. Why? Because their situation is absolutely secure. They're feeling completely safe at the lotus feet of Krishna, serving him, blissfully engaging in rasa, you see? And there's no time. There's no past, there's no future. There's only an eternal present. You don't get old, nothing gets destroyed. There's no contrary influences. Anything that's discordant gets kicked out. That's what it means. That's how we came here. We were trouble. We're disturbing the other devotees by having our rebellious mentality, even if it's just in seed form. So, okay, then you can go into the reformatory here, and you learn that you can't be happy independently. There is no independence. It's illusory. We're totally dependent every moment for our necessities of life, for our intelligence, for everything going on. So the good news is that the person we're dependent on completely loves us. It's not that he wants to exploit us. He doesn't have any need to. He's completely self-sufficient. In the material world, when you become dependent, when you become controlled, you're being exploited. It's demonic. Because the person who's doing that doesn't have any rasa with you, doesn't care about you, it's just he cares about, exploiting you. But Krishna's not like that. He wants to lift us up and bring us back. Why does he take so much trouble? He comes here, speaks the Gita, comes again as Lord Chaitanya, and so many other avatars, and always it's the same thing. To knock down the miscreants, those who are real agents of the lower forces, because they're more and more covered, and the devotees who are suffering, to protect them, he says in the 4th chapter, and to reinstitute Dharma, because it's Dharma that's the real protector. The words, the ideas, the moral instructions, the philosophy, and the means of elevation, as well as always inspiring certain numbers of acharyas and exemplars to be in the world to show us the way. Now, in America, it was like, no one knew that for hundreds, for who knows how long, until Prabhupada came and brought the whole parampara and brought the whole knowledge with him and gradually manifested by his efforts. And now the process is there. It's open. It's an open secret. Chant Hare Krishna, follow these instructions. Yes, you have to give up things that you may want superficially, but it's for your own good. We're just like children. A child is playing with something that's dangerous, the mother takes it away, the child screams, says, no, it's for your own good. But she gives him something better. So this is something better, that you can feel it. If you actually begin to chant and you draw your attention away from all of the things that you habituated to, that you think are giving you pleasure, but are really imprisoning you, and you start to feel the connection with Krishna that's always been there, but you feel it more manifested. It's such a relief. There's actually hope. There's no hope for anything in the material world. It's all turning to dust as we speak. There's no hope. But there's great hope here because death is not an impediment. It's just a door that you go through. Okay, we may have a few more births, but at least we're on the right track. We're moving in the right direction. If you're driving very nicely and fast, but you're driving in the wrong direction, then what's the use? They're all going wrong. So here, Krishna says, Ye me matam idam nityam. Those who execute their duties according to my injunctions that I just gave them, and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy, become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. In other words, you'll be getting free from this straitjacket of karma that you don't even know you're wearing. But we know, from the Shastra, yes, this is why we're coming back. And so many things that you don't know, why me? Because something in the background you did, it's now you're paying for. But when you start Krishna consciousness, you have the confidence that, okay, the karmic wheel, you unplug this perfect example of the fan, the fan, is that we're on this fan, that this engine of karma is going. And you pull out the plug and the fan is still going on. We've had experience, So you can't expect all of your difficulties to end right away. But if you stay on the path, you'll find that they're decreasing and you're not paving the way for more suffering in the future. It's actually the curative. So that's what Krishna is saying. If you follow it faithfully, you'll become free from the bondage of fruitive actions, and that's the path out of this prison house and back to the spiritual world. On the other hand, the next verse is just the opposite. Ready for it? Text 32. We need as many chanters as we can get. Ye tve tadabhyasuyanto. All right, let's try it again. Ye tve tadabhyasuyanto nanutishtanti me matam savajnanavamhudangstan vidhinashtana chetasaha. But, that but is always there, but those who out of envy disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled, and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. Purport: the flaw of not being Krishna conscious is clearly stated herein. As there is punishment for disobedience to the order of the Supreme Executive Head, so there is certainly punishment for disobedience to the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A disobedient person, however great he may be, is ignorant of his own self and of the Supreme Brahman, Paramatma, and the Personality of Godhead, due to a vacant heart. Therefore, there is no hope of perfection of life for him. So this is one of several of statements like this in the Gita. The one that always comes to mind in this regard is at the end of the 16th chapter, when Krishna has just described the really painful results of leading a demonic life completely devoid of even any tinges of God consciousness. And he describes it, it's a hellish existence, that I cast them down, these demons who, there's mantras, Ishvaroham Maham Bhogi Siddhoham Balavan Sukhi. I am the Lord, a master, Ishvaroham, I am the enjoyer, I am perfect, powerful, and happy. And he goes on to describe, I've killed this enemy and I'm going to kill that one. This is the demonic mentality. So Krishna describes, gradually they go down and down and down, and maybe even lose the human form of life. So it's a hellish existence. So then at the end of the chapter, the beginning of the chapter is very hopeful. He has a whole list of divine qualities that for upliftment that we should try to cultivate. But then he says, now I'm going to tell you about the demonic qualities. And he describes those who are atheists, who decry the Lord, who torment the devotees and all, demons. So, but then at the end of the chapter, he has a sobering lesson, 4 verses, very pertinent to what we're talking about here. So he says there, Tribadham nadakasyedam dwaram nashanam atmana kamak krodhas tata lobhas tasmadetat trayam chajet. There are 3 gates leading to this hellish life that I just described, of the demons who suffer so much. 3 gates. What are they? Lust, anger, and greed. The wise give these up Kama krota tasmat etat, therefore one should give them up. Then the next verse he describes the result of giving them up. Etai vimukta konteya tamo dvarais chubi naraha acharat yatmanak shreyas tato yanti param gatim. So now he's giving this contrast, like he's doing here, This is in 31 was all very hopeful. You become free from, but on the other hand, if you don't, you suffer. So he's doing the same thing here. Now he's on the positive side. Those who escape these three gates. Now these, the lust, anger, and greed. These are results of the modes of nature. When we're fully embracing the material energy and trying to exploit it, we're in the modes of nature: goodness, passion, ignorance. So if you're free from those, you become free from them. Dvaram nashanam atmana, lust, anger, and greed. Then what do? You act for your own benefit of the soul. Shreyas. This word shreyas keeps coming up. This is the benefit, the real benefit of the soul. Swa-arta. Tamo dvarais to be in these three gates to darkness. Tamo dvarais to be in a acharat yatmanak shreyas. Acharat means to act, just like the acharya means he who acts divinely always. Atmanak shreyas toto yati param gatim. And by acting in that way, you go back to the spiritual world. Param gatim, the supreme goal. So there's a stark contrast there. The demons are going down to a dark, hellish, suffering life, and those who escape these three gates by acting piously and becoming disciplined and bhakti yoga, then they go back to So then he has the last two verses, and it's key because he talks about the Shastra as the key. This is how we associate with Srila Prabhupada most meaningfully, through his books. And we're not associating only with him. We're associating with Krishna here by hearing his words. He's absolute. Even though they're in English, even though it's 5,000 years later, it's the same message, and it's the same potency as there, as Arjun's felt. So then he says, Yak Shastravidam Utsraja. Shastravidhi means the instructions of Shastra. Yas Shastravidam Utsraja vartate kamakarataha nasa siddhim abaptoti nasukam naparam gatim. But those who disregard, reject the instructions of Shastra, which is what we've been reading here for the last 30 years, and continue to act by the sway of lust, in other words, whimsically, then what happens with them? Nasa siddhim, they don't get any perfection in their life. There's no perfection on this material plane. Avap nasukam, they don't become happy. What to speak, they certainly don't go to the supreme goal. So this is the stark choice we have, is to simply act whimsically, forget about the Gita, who cares, let me party, Or to accept this Shastra Vidhi and try to mold your life according to it as far as possible. We all have a place where we're at and a place where we can move forward feasibly. We can chant Hare Krishna. If I'm not chanting rounds, I can learn how to chant a round. It doesn't take very long to learn. Right? It's the simplest thing you can imagine. And then you integrate that into your life and try to follow the instructions, try to give this up and take something else on. So then he concludes the chapter with a very essential instruction. Tasmat, it's the end of an argument. Therefore, tasmat shastram pramanam te karya vyavastito. Gyatva shastra badhanoktam karma kartam maharasi. Therefore, as evidence, as authority for what we should do and what we should not do. And that's what our whole life is made up of. Doing one thing and not another. Think about it. You make a choice to go here, and then that creates a certain path that you go down, right? And you're acting within that. Or you make a choice to go this way. So, tasmat shastram pramanam te, you should accept Shastra, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, etc., as the pramana, as the evidence or the authority for what to do and what not to do. He literally says that. Karya. Karya means doing, and akarya means not doing. The whole life is made up of that. Doing this, not doing that. Vyavastito. To determine what to do and what not to do, one should consult Shastra as a pramanam. And having consulted it and understood, one should actually act according to that. In other words, he doesn't let us off the hook. Yeah, I read the Gita all the time. But do you follow it? Reading and study, just dilettante, it's not going to help you. You consult, you accept it as evidence for what to do and what not to, and then you actually, as a matter of duty, you act according to it. Why does it have to be duty? Because our heart, is so fickle. we've got so many tendencies to do this and that according to our whims. But we're not following our whims, we're following our intelligence, and our intelligence is saturated with now, familiar with the Shastra, and we know what's right. In other words, we're trying to imbibe the moral principles from the Shastra and act that way, because we know at the end it's for our own good. And in the end, there's no question of duty. It's all spontaneous. Because this whole thing is to bring us to the point of loving Krishna and spontaneously wanting to serve him for his own benefit. Just like a mother serves a child out of pure love. You know. And Krishna can reciprocate unlimitedly that effort to serve him with affection. But we have to be cured of our egotism and our selfishness and our demonic tendencies. So it's a whole psychological effort. But the process is there. And understanding, Krishna speaking right to us here, abhyasuyanto, out of envy. In other words, out of envy, because Krishna is God and I'm not going to follow this principle. Then you suffer. You can't be independent. Nobody's independent. Any questions, comments on these points? Yes, Russell. A question. We have a mic. No, we need, there's an audience out there. Okay, I'll repeat it. Okay. Yes, it's very powerful.
They're born into it, they live it, and they die. They live into it. So,
I know.
I don't know. I think I have a good now that I had a stroke and I lost everything.
Oh.
So it's just like, wow. I don't have an income, so I have an idea of what you're saying. I think, But because I don't.
But you know the mantra.
I can't go out. I don't. Before I used to. I never stopped for clothing, but anyway, I went out and bought things, and I haven't bought things for myself for 6 months,
That's no loss, and neither have I. I've been wearing these clothes for years. You're as well. Your wealth is measured by how many things you can do without.
It's like an epiphany, It's like I said that this was a blessing from God,
Yeah. Anyway, Russell, I see how it's difficult for you to express yourself, but I think that Krishna consciousness is always auspicious. Whatever you can take of it, if you can chant, I don't know if you're able to chant a mantra at all? A little.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, but yet it's like it's I counted, I've been doing this since 73, and every time we chant our rounds, 16 rounds, which I'll be honest, sometimes I fell a little short, but I make it up the next day, some exercise. But each mantra has 16 names, and we chant 108 names, 108 mantras on each round, and 16 rounds a day. So it comes to 28,000 or so names a day, 27,000 some odd names a day. Now you multiply that out by the years I've been doing this, it's almost 500 million names I've chanted. You'd think I'd be a little farther along, But the point is, if you get going, you can easily chant it. And no matter what, if you can just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, and try to focus on the sound, that'll be auspicious. We need
food to eat, right?
Yes.
People are gluttons about it too.
We can talk about that after class. Okay, after the kirtan, if you want. I know we have the little foodie. I know it's different. But it's great that you're here. That of all the places you could be, you come here, because I think it's all good. All right, so it's at 7:57. I'm going to read a little bit from Krishna book, but I had another idea that maybe to move the story along, we'd read just from the 10th canto, the translations, because sometimes it's a little difficult to follow the story. So we'll try an experiment and read, say, chapter 9. Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 9. So this is the famous story of Krishna breaking the pot of butter that we celebrate in Kartik every year. It's a very beloved story. So it goes like this. Shukadeva Goswami continued, one day, when Mother Yashoda saw that all the maidservants were engaged in other household affairs, she personally began to churn the yogurt. While churning, she remembered the childish activities of Krishna, and in her own way, she composed songs and enjoyed singing to herself about all those activities. Now, I'm going to deviate from my plan a little bit and read this purport because I remember reading this so many years ago, and it was encouraging to my, number one, memorizing all kinds of verses, and two, writing poetry. You'll see when I read. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, quoting from the Vaishnava Toshani of Sanatana Goswami, says that the incident of Krishna's breaking the pot of yogurt and being bound by Mother Yashoda took place in the Deepavali day or Deepa Malika. This is called Diwali. Even today in India, this festival is generally celebrated very gorgeously in the month of Kartik by fireworks and lights, especially in Bombay. It's to be understood that among all the cows of Nanda, several of Mother Yashoda's cows ate only grasses so flavorful that the grasses would automatically flavor the milk. Mother Yashoda wanted to collect the milk from these cows, make it into yogurt, and churn it into butter personally, since she thought that this child Krishna was going to the houses of neighborhood gopas and gopis to steal the butter because he didn't like the milk and yogurt ordinarily prepared. So this is an insight from Vishwanath Chakravarti. Because Krishna is famous for going in and stealing the yogurt and tormenting the other ladies, and they came and complained. They complained to Mother Yashoda, that he's stealing the yogurt, he's making a mess, she and Balaram. But then Krishna is sitting there, very innocently looking at them, and after a while they just completely melt, their hearts melt, because they don't, she refuses to chastise him, she can't chastise him. In other words, he's charming their hearts by all of this, So that's Mother Yashoda saying, oh, he's going to steal the yogurt over there, so I have to make better yogurt over here. So that's what's it. Now, here's the paragraph. While churning the butter, Mother Yashoda was singing about the childhood activities of Krishna. It was formerly a custom that if one wanted to remember something constantly, he would transform it into poetry or have it done by a professional poet. It appears that Mother Yashoda didn't want to forget Krishna's activities at any time. Therefore, she poeticized all of Krishna's childhood activities, such as the killing of Putana, Aghasura, Shakatasura, Trinavarta, and while churning the butter, she sang about these activities in poetical form. This should be the practice of persons eager to remain Krishna conscious 24 hours a day. This incident shows how Krishna conscious Mother Yashoda was. To stay in Krishna consciousness, we should follow such persons. So anyway, I didn't start writing this poetry until much later, but Rupa Goswami helped us. Now it's in Sanskrit. It takes a little effort to memorize. But I'll give you a sample of what he wrote. He wrote something called the Leela Chanda, which is a summary of Krishna's pastimes. The Bhagavatam itself is a summary. When you read another book called the Gopal Champu, you see a lot more details in the pastimes. Really nectar. But Rupa Goswami, he writes a summary. Now the idea of the summary is it just gives the outline of the pastime, but then because you know the details, you fill them in. You're reminded of it. So here's just a sample of what he wrote of one of in the Leela Chanda, because I memorized it. And this has to do with the Uttana ceremony, where this means baby's born and he's lying in the cradle back on the back, right? We've all seen little infants, and then they can't do anything; they can hardly see, But then when they grow a little bit, they want to turn over on their stomach and crawl, right? That's a big festival in India, just for the mothers. And it's not. I've read about it. Not just the mothers with children. Mothers with children. You have to be. I'm sorry, scratch that. So it's for the ladies with children. So they all came, and it's a big. So she couldn't suckle him. He was crying, but she couldn't hear him. He wanted to suck her breast. So he was in a cradle under a big cart, and in that cart, a ghost had entered, a demon, to try to crush Krishna. So he knows about that, but he's in disguise. He doesn't, you know, he doesn't show his forearm for him. So he kicks it because he's unhappy that his mother isn't there, and he hits it with his little leaf-like feet, his tiny little delicate feet. But because he's God, you know, he wrecks the whole thing, and it comes crashing down, and he's killed the Shakatasura. And after that, the next one is Trinavarta, the tornado demon. And so this is about that, and also a little bit more. So here's how it sounds. Just the sound. Altanika mahasankulitam bakashakadara shayanadam bakakuchadasa trishna vidichatarodam chanchala patakata shakadabanod vismita pashabasudurgam chestata katana nije hita shabaka vestata kata janagi janaka katanta kamanta kadanani sodakutashanta. That's the whole pastime. It rhymes, it's got a beat to it. You can imagine when it plays. So that's exactly what Mother Yashoda was doing. She was singing songs like this about Krishna's Leela, so she would always remember. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. So, moving along. So now it's the verse describing how she's dressed and what she's doing. Dressed in a saffron yellow sari with a belt tied about her full hips, Mother Yashoda pulled on the churning rope, laboring considerably, her bangles and earrings moving and vibrating, and her whole body shaking. Because of her intense love for her child, her breasts were wet with milk, her face, with its very beautiful eyebrows, was wet with perspiration, and malati flowers were falling from her hair. While Mother Yashoda was churning butter, Krishna, desiring to drink the milk of her breast, appeared before her, and in order to increase her transcendental pleasure, he caught hold of the churning rod and began to prevent her from churning. Pritim Abahan, creating a situation of love and affection in the words. So Krishna engineered the whole thing. Mother Yashoda then embraced Krishna, allowed him to sit down on her lap, and began to look upon the face of the Lord with great love and affection. Because of her intense affection, milk was flowing from her breast. But when she saw that the milk pan on the stove was boiling over, she immediately left her son to take care of the overflowing milk, although the child was not yet fully satisfied with drinking the milk of his mother's breast. Being very angry and biting his reddish lips with his teeth, Krishna, with false tears in his eyes, broke the container of yogurt with a piece of stone. Then he entered a room and began to eat the freshly churned butter in a solitary place. Mother Yashoda, after taking down the hot milk from the stove, returned to the churning spot, and when she saw that the container of yogurt was broken and that Krishna was not present, she concluded that the breaking of the pot was his work. Krishna at that time was sitting on an upside-down wooden mortar for grinding spices and was distributing milk preparations like yogurt and butter to the monkeys, as he liked. Because of having stolen, he was looking all around with great anxiety, suspecting that he might be chastised by his mother. Mother Yashoda, upon seeing him, very cautiously approached him from behind. She had a stick. When Lord Krishna saw his mother, stick in hand, he very quickly got down from the top of the mortar and began to flee as if very much afraid. Although yogis try to capture him as the Paramatma by meditation, desiring to enter into the effulgence of the Lord with great austerities and penances, they fail to reach him. But Mother Yashoda, thinking that same personality of Godhead, Krishna, to be her son, began following Krishna to catch him. While following Krishna, Mother Yashoda, her thin waist overburdened by her heavy breasts, naturally had to reduce her speed. Because of following Krishna very swiftly, her hair became loose and the flowers in her hair were falling after her. Yet she did not fail to capture her son Krishna. Now, when I first read this in the Krishna book, I noticed that each of the stages of the pastime is punctuated by the hair, the flowers falling out of Mother Yashoda's hair. It's described she's churning and the flowers are falling, and then Krishna comes and stops the whole thing and he starts the pastime. And now she's running, and the flowers are falling from her hair. She catches him, and finally, when she's trying to bind him, when the flowers fall out of her hair, she's able to bind him. You watch. She did not. So she captures him. When caught by Mother Yashoda, Krishna became more and more afraid and admitted to being an offender. As she looked upon him, she saw that he was crying, his tears mixing with the black ointment around his eyes, and as he rubbed his eyes with his hands, he smeared the ointment all over his face. Mother Yashoda, catching her beautiful son by the hand, mildly began to chastise him. Mother Yashoda was always overwhelmed by intense love for Krishna, not knowing who he was or how powerful he was. Because of maternal affection for Krishna, she never even cared to know who he was. Therefore, when she saw that her son had become excessively afraid, she threw the stick away and desired to bind him so that he would not commit any further naughty activities. The Supreme Lord has no beginning, no end, no exterior, no interior, no front, no rear. In other words, he's all-pervading. Because he is not under the influence of the element of time, for him there's no difference between past, present, and future. He exists in his own transcendental form at all times. Being absolute, beyond relativity, he's free from distinctions between cause and effect, although he is the cause and effect of everything. That unmanifested person, who is beyond the perception of the senses, had now appeared as a human child, and Mother Yashoda, considering him her own ordinary child, bound him to the wooden border with a rope, or she was trying to anyway. When Mother Yashoda was trying to bind the offending child, she saw that the binding rope was short by a distance of the width of 2 fingers. Thus she brought another rope to join to it. The new rope was also short by a measurement of 2 fingers, and when another rope was joined to it, it was also 2 fingers too short. As many ropes as she joined, all of them failed. Their shortness could not be overcome. Thus Mother Yashoda joined whatever ropes were available in the house, but still she failed in her attempt to bind Krishna. Mother Yashoda's friends, the elder gopis in the neighborhood, were smiling and enjoying the fun. Similarly, Mother Yashoda, although laboring in that way, was also smiling. All of them were struck with wonder. Because of Mother Yashoda's hard labor, her whole body became covered with perspiration, and when the flowers and comb were falling from her hair, then when the child saw his mother thus fatigued, and the hair flowers falling, he became merciful to her and agreed to be bound. O Maharaj Pariksit, this entire universe with its great exalted demigods like Shiva, Brahma, and Indra is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet the Supreme Lord has one special transcendental attribute. He comes under the control of his devotees. This was now exhibited by Krishna in this pastime. Neither Brahma, nor Shiva, nor even the goddess of fortune, who is always the better half of the Lord, can obtain from the Supreme Lord, the deliverer from this material world, such mercy as received by Mother Yashoda. Okay, so it's 8:10 now, we have to stop. So that's a little pastime. I know, but it's 8:10. Okay, all good. I'll have to shorten it, editing on the fly. The Supreme Lord Krishna, the son of Mother Yashoda, is accessible to devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service, but he is not as easily accessible to mental speculators, to those striving for self-realization by severe austerities and penance, or to those who consider the body the same as the self. While Mother Yashoda was very busy with household affairs, the Supreme Lord Krishna observed twin trees known as Yamalarjun, which in a former millennium had been the demigod sons of Kubera. In their former birth, these 2 sons, Nalakuva, Manigriva, were extremely opulent and fortunate, but because of pride and false prestige, they didn't care about anyone, and thus Narada Muni cursed them to become trees. And that obviously is going to pique a question from Maharaj Pariksit for the next chapter. All glories